Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite written Ralph talking to you straight from our show here, Apple Bites, where we take our bite out of the apple and share it with you. Today we have, of course, Dan, Chris, and Roman Tony. And I'm happy you guys are with us today. Dan, I know we run around in circles around each other.
Well, we met at Brooklyn Comic-Con a couple of years ago. Yeah, man. So I remember that.
Yeah. That's when I got the first interview, and they was like, "Oh, we'll get you on the show eventually."
We made it. I'm glad to be here, man. Yeah, it's awesome.
I gotta say, it caught my attention then, and it still catches my attention because Bigfoot fighting karate.
It's natural. Who knew, right?
Do you get that double take at conventions?
Constantly. They're like, say what? It's one of those moments.
But yeah, excuse me, what?
Yeah. I get a lot, and oftentimes that'll lead them to the table. Oftentimes it'll go, oh, that's funny, and they'll keep going, and that's fine, at least, caught their attention for a second. It's kind of a hook for a title, and I'm happy with that because it definitely grabs people right off the bat. So it seems to work pretty good.
So here's the next question, because it has to follow the first question, which is, where did this come from?
So, okay, bear with me a second. I used to do a comic called Latex Avenger. Okay. Latex Avenger had a sidekick, spermicidal foam lad, and together they repelled crime 99.9% of the time. Yeah, I give you that. That's the setup for the universe in which this was originally supposed to live. Right. Okay, originally it was supposed to be a comedy. It was ridiculous, and I wrote the script, and it was terrible. It was not funny. It was just
silly,
just playing off the tropes that we've already know in a martial arts film and that kind of thing. And then it just went off the rails. It was dumb. So I shelved that. That was around 2014. Came back to drawing him again, but in 2017, 2018. But this time he had these gaunt eyes and he had this warrior expression. And I started thinking to myself, if you were the only one of your kind and you were the only one of your species and nobody knew you and nobody cared, what would that do to your soul and your psyche? What would that do to you?
Interesting.
By the way, you're 10 foot tall and you know karate. Okay. And that was kind of the impetus of how this all started. And it just couldn't be the same trite, monotonous martial arts, kung fu flick thing that we've seen a million times. That plot, that revenge plot, it's not there because he's a Bigfoot. He's got no one. Nobody cares about him. Nobody knows. He has no family. It's not Taken. You know what I mean? He's got nothing. So what do you get revenge on if you don't?
You killed my father. Now you must die.
Exactly. It's kind of it's not. So yeah. So that's where it's kind of at right now. And that's that's how it kind of got started. That was a long answer to your question.
No, that was actually a very insightful answer. Because it kind of puts everything in perspective and puts it where we are now. This is how we got here.
Right.
So this is the third chapter, right?
Third chapter, fourth book. Okay, we did a prequel book between 2 and 3 called Inagon, and that was a prequel. It took place in feudal Japan hundreds of years before the main storyline. And then we'll be doing more of those. We have another one of those slated to come out in the fall, winter timeframe, that we have coming out, between books 3 and 4. So just peeling back the onion a bit, showing you more sides of this character beyond what you've seen in, the main storyline, and just showing the character in a different manner.
I gotta say, I don't understand. You're telling me people walk away after you tell them this. I can't fathom that because I want to know what, Bigfoot knows karate. I want to know. Why does Bigfoot know karate?
That you're gonna have to read about. I can't answer that question. Not, that's you definitely.
That's a good teaser right there. But it's funny because to me it reminds me of that stuff in the 70s because this is the kind of stuff you would get in the 70s.
Sure. It is, the look of the book had to be very very loose and organic and brushy and grungy. I wanted this feeling of motion to be going on in the story, and in the artwork at all times. And so I think that motion, that definitely was something that you would see in those films and during that era.
Yeah.
But we liken the book to Godzilla versus Kong meets Kill Bill with a twist of X-Files. And that kind of gives you an idea of what it is that we're going for the story. It's not what you expect. We set the first book up like a smash 'em up, Godzilla versus Kong, Kill Bill with a twist where he fights Cthulhu, or as we called him, Kung Fu Thulu, and the Ultimate Monster Showdown. But it was like, but we didn't say a thing about the fourth act of the book when we were selling it on Kickstarter initially. We didn't talk about what this really was, and it was about this Bigfoot on the hunt, or being hunted. I'm sorry, being by this mysterious agency, this mysterious cabal. And for what purpose? And that's the end of the fourth book or the first book, and it just kind of blows the story open from there. And we have these crazy characters running around. You've got like Chupacabra with a shotgun. Love him. He's amazing. Great character. I can't wait. What's up, Lou? How are you? You got Chupacabra with a shotgun. Diego. He's absolutely awesome. And then there's a Minotaur named Asterion, and and there's a blind Mothman who's a seer through time and space, but can't see 3 feet in front of him. You got
other cryptids. You got.
We're playing with them all, man. We're playing with them all.
We got Jersey Devil in there.
Give me a little time. We're gonna get there.
What's the other one? The Minotaur man. I forget what it is. Goat man. There's a goat man.
Yeah. Oh, the goat man. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're going to be touching on a lot of them. That's the thing with this book. It's Bigfoot and it's karate, sure, but it's like you have this ability to touch on all these different cryptids through different times and eras. This character, I will tell you now, he's lived a long time, and so we get to touch on so many different aspects of creatures of lore, things that we make up, and there's just a lot of range of motion for this story, and there's no way to really pigeonhole it, which is nice.
Dude, it just sounds amazing. And again, this sounds exactly like one of those shows or movies that they would have made in the 70s, and you'd be like, you heard of this movie? Come on, guys, you heard, and because you'd be the only one going, I know I saw it. Somebody, one of you guys must have seen it.
The title reminds me of, there's a joke that stuck with me from Peter David's Spider-Man 2099. At one point, Miguel, the Spider-Man, he says, I know, he says a line, he goes, I know karate, kung fu, and a bunch of other big words. So that,
right.
That's what the title reminds me of. Like, I know karate, you know a lot of words. It's funny.
Dude, because it also reminds me, did you watch the $6 Million Man?
No, I didn't. I mean, I know several episodes of it that I've seen, but I didn't religiously watch it.
Because they had a bionic Bigfoot.
Well, I remember they had Andre. No, that was the $6 million. No, that was the Fall Guy that had Andre the Giant playing the Bigfoot, right? Yeah, I didn't know about bionic Bigfoot. That's
in the original $6 Million Man, the Bigfoot shows up and he's bionic, and so they're both having a bionic battle.
If you ever watch this anime called Go Lighten, it's pretty old, but it's insane. So they have an episode where, like, by the way, the abominable snowman is real, and he's like 100 feet tall. And this is like the second episode. It's just crazy. The toad. So that's the kind of thing he reminds me of. Yeah, like just balls to the wall.
Dresden's like, I know big words too. I just forgot how to spell. Dude, I have to say that people have to be buying this thing because this is just like fantastical.
We've done, the book's done well. I gotta say, it's been, I'm like when you're doing a book where a guy dresses up like a rubber and fights crime, you get a lot of eye rolls and that kind of thing.
Right.
So I was about to cuss. I caught myself. I did good. You get a lot of eye rolls and stuff. So when people have been attracted to this book, and it's been really nice to work on something where people aren't like going, okay, whatever, jerk, and it's been enjoyable. Like, I've really enjoyed making the book. My co-writer, Casey Allen, he is incredible. We have a great time working on it together. But yeah, I mean, it's sold very well. We've sold, over, right at the 3,000 unit mark.
Whoa, that's fun.
Yeah, so it's been really good, and I'm about to burn through the rest of my my copies, Chris. I've got to go do some printing here really soon. So
rebrand is going to be fun.
Oh yeah, I got to do the whole rebrand, so it's going to be great. But yeah, I just did. So anyway, but yeah, this book's been a blast. I mean, it's just been an absolute blast.
Yeah, great job on the coloring too. That's really good. That's really nice.
Yeah.
The coloring. Oh, thank you. That's my favorite part of doing the page. Honestly, I like drawing it. Don't get me wrong, but I love color.
That's a nice.
It's like beautiful color, and at the same time, it's muted. So it's a great combination.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I do all my artwork in Illustrator, and my colors, most of the colors in Illustrator, and then take it over to Photoshop for color corrections, and then back into Illustrator for letters, etc.
I mean, the muted style really works. Like when you think of Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster, we think of all these foggy, out of focus pictures. Look, that's a Bigfoot. Yeah, really? Or
that's true.
Yeah, really? Are you sure it's not a tire? No. It's so it really works. It really works. I like
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is part of the Cthulhu fight right here that you're on. Yeah.
Damn. Well, folks, if you guys are wondering why you should support this, you're seeing it right here.
Yeah, this is from issue 1, and then just kind of a previously on, and then we included the trailers for each of the books as well, just so people can check those out too.
I like that though, because sometimes you want to know what's going on. You're looking at the 3rd issue or the latest issue, and you're like, I want to support this, but I'm not sure what's going on.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you take from the greats, and I said great to Chris. I said I'm stealing your previously on when we were building our Kickstarters. So thank you, Chris.
No problem.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. I was a big kid, and you'd be like, "Oh, previously on X-Men."
Exactly. Well, the thing about it is like you do, you borrow from your friends and that sort of thing. Like Chris and I, we've known each other a long time at this point, and in terms of Instagram years, I guess we're like 40-year-old friends or something like that. But we even did a live launch together a couple of years ago that was really cool, where we launched our books at the exact same time and through an Instagram live party together. That was awesome because like we both funded our books in like 15 minutes. So it was highly successful. So, when you find a good brain to work with, you work with them. So yeah, props to you, man.
Dresden is saying that's dope as fuck. Yeah, I'm an illustrator guy too.
There you go. We're few and far between in the comic book industry. Good to know you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I can see why there's only a couple of you guys, because you're doing everything by yourself.
Well, Illustrator's one of those programs. Like, so my day job, I fall into the graphic design community, and I've been working in Illustrator since Illustrator was Illustrator. I mean, before that, I used a program called Aldous Freehand to do vector artwork. And so when Illustrator first came up, I was using it early on, and I've been using it on and off ever since. And then, because it's the software I use for work, and I mean for building logos or illustrations or infographics or whatever,
right? It
was just only made sense to just go ahead and do my artwork in a vector format that I was really comfortable with. So yeah, I mean, so such as it is, and Illustrator, woo, love it.
Oh, you got to use the tool you can use, man, and why not
Absolutely.
use something that you're really accustomed to using?
Oh,
You
I'm
know?
an Adobe guy through and through, so it's not for brand loyalty, other than the fact that it's just always the software I've always used.
Yeah,
To learn something like Procreate or something like that, well, sounds awesome and they sound like powerful programs.
they do. Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna go stay over here for a while, I think.
But like I said, you do what you do. You do what you know.
Hey, you
Yeah,
do what you do, I do what I do, right?
But
yeah, the learning of
Procreate
new,
here.
Yeah,
yeah, the learning
Procreate.
of new program is always a daunting task.
Procreate.
Say that again, Tony.
Yeah, the learning of a new program is always a daunting task. I mean, it's usually easy once you get. Most of the time, it's easy, but just if it supports the program you already have, I mean, use what you're using, and it works, it's fine.
And I like the vector of the whole thing, honestly. I like the vector of the whole thing where it can be as big as the head of a pin or the size of a billboard and it never loses clarity.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So how do you guys become partners? Because you say you've known each other for a long time. How did this come to be? What's the secret origin of you guys?
Chris, you field this one, man.
Oh, you want me to do this one?
Please.
Okay. Well,
I was gonna wait till later, but I feel like we need to know now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Geez. So, when you see a title named Bigfoot Knows Karate and you know a guy named Dan, I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer to get him to be your partner, right? Yeah. So this is my 5th year, publishing my title Crit. And last year, I was facing a little bit of burnout, if I'm being real. And so was, our partner, Drew Lenhart. And we had been working on a few things together. I've done some anthology work with him, and we were, working on just a couple projects. And late last year, we both kind of had this moment where we admitted we were getting burned out and tired of stuff. And it wasn't, lack of creativity. It was just, when you're in indie comics, no one tells you when you put pen to paper for the first time that this is hard.
Yes.
I've done a lot of things in my life, and you would think that sitting down and drawing a comic book and putting on Kickstarter would be easy, but they don't tell you. You got to promote the Kickstarter, and then it's just a bunch of work, and it can be really draining.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it is a lot of work.
It is what it is. That's why I tell people all the time. You guys deserve a lot of props. Everything you guys do is, oh my God, it's just the Kickstarter alone. It's nerve wracking. Like, you guys are funded. You guys are past one of those levels, because when you're not funded, you die the whole time.
When we got on here, Dan's saying he's in refresh mode. And that's what it is. You're going to bed, you're refreshing, and God forbid you don't get a backer for a day. You're beating yourself up. Like, what did I do wrong? Does my campaign look bad? Do we need to go fix something? And it's just a lot. And then you had your personal life and your work life. And sometimes you're like, why am I doing this? And so part of the burnout, necessarily wasn't the Kickstarter or the work. It was also the fact that we were by ourselves. So, Drew and I decided we're going to come together, rebrand as Homebrewed Comics, because I had been under Homebrewed Heroes. And so in January, we did that. We launched immediately with Walmart, with Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And, we wanted to rebrand and make a big impact, because both of us have been around for a while. This is my 9th issue of Crit, 5 years, 2 and 3 books a year sometimes. And so I wanted everyone to know that this wasn't just 2 people coming together to hang out and have fun. Like, we're here for work. And being that I'd worked with Dan in the past on the launch, and like he said, we might as well have a friendship right now, 40 years, with how social media works.
Definitely.
He just congratulated us. And I said, hey, this is kind of what we have going on. And I didn't approach him with the idea of him joining originally. It was just friend to friend. And I say that, Dan and I have been on a road show now for 2 months. So he's probably heard me say this 100 times. But it was after the conversation, I sat there for a minute and I was like, was he flirting with the idea of joining us? It's like when you go out and you hang out with someone for the first time, you're like, I wonder if we're going to be friends, or to go on
Yeah.
that blind date. Like, I wonder if she's going to call me later, kind of thing. And I went to Drew and I just said, hey, would you be for or against Dan joining? Because I didn't want Homebrew to get too big too quick, and I didn't want to take on anybody that like we had to drag into this kicking and screaming, because
that's always
that
horrible.
was something I dealt with before, where I was carrying some people, and I just really, when you're already suffering from burnout, you don't want to add more to your plate, So Drew was on board immediately. So continued the conversations with Dan a little bit, and then finally I was like, hey, like, would you want to join up on with us? And he had some things to take care of, and then he came on, and it's been awesome ever since. I think the big thing that I see in indie comics is everyone wants to do their own thing, but they want to do it with a group of people, but they don't want to contribute to the group of people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, which doesn't make sense.
Right. It's like a group, and you're all working together, but I've seen Kickstarters not fund by like $20.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Right. And I'm not picking on anyone, so don't take it that way. But it's like, if you're in a group and you see your bro, like your title, because if you have a group, that's one of your titles, and you see them not funding by 20, you get the 10 people or 50 people that are in your group to go in and say, hey, up your pledge by 5. Let's get this book funded. Let's get this book made.
Yeah.
Or promote it. Get on Kickstarter and do a live.
Yep.
There's a billion things you can do. You don't have to throw money at it, but you can at least support it. And I wasn't seeing those things. And with Homebrewed, what I loved when Dan came on, I said, hey, this is my vision. Like, I want every title to be a Homebrewed title. I don't want to be a Chris title or a Dan title, and he was in on that. And I said, I don't want to grow too fast. I don't want to take on 50 creators and do this. I want to do this smart. I want to do this right. And, Dan is great at marketing. And Dan said that's one thing that he really wanted to focus on for his role in the group and the company. And I said, great, because I like doing physical stuff like distribution and getting copies elsewhere, like making those connections, because I come from that world. I worked in distribution for years.
Right.
So I know a lot about the ins and outs of how that works. So let me handle the retail side and getting us in stores and making those connections. And you handle the marketing. And Drew hates social media. Let's be real. Like, getting his face on a screen is a pain in the neck. I beg him to death, but that's not his thing. And that's great. So what he does is he gets our digital stuff done. He gets our mailing list done. Heck, I wake up at 4 a.m. sometimes. He's like, oh, I updated the website. I posted this book on, all these platforms, and I sent out an email. Do you guys need anything? And it's 4 a.m,
Right.
And that's how all of this started. Really, just I think Dan and I had multiple conversations where we were like, man, I feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to be. Yeah.
My Kickstarter I think we had 3 weeks to promote it, because we moved. I was originally going to go in June, and some things happened, and we moved Crit from June to May. And I'll be honest with you, April. I was freaking out. I was like so scared, because I had never done, like, shipped a book 1 week and then launched a book the next. Literally the day of my Kickstarter, people were getting their book in the mail that morning and backing it that night.
Wow.
And that gave me massive amounts of anxiety, because I didn't want people who didn't get the book to feel like shafted in a way.
Right.
But, we had this talk, and everyone's like, we got you. And I funded in 45 minutes with the biggest goal that I've had this entire time. And
that's a good sign.
The teamwork and camaraderie has just been great. We have these weekly meetings that are supposed to be an hour. They go an hour and a half, and it's like a good meeting,
Yeah.
And we have to cut it off because we all have, families that are like, hey, I need you over here. And that's the good thing. And we've been doing this for 4 months now, and I don't see it slowing down. I don't see things getting like stagnant. I see us working hard. Our conversations are all productive. Aside from the occasional, someone had a dream about me calling them fat. That was a whole, but we have real good business camaraderie conversations, whereas everything I've experienced in the past is it's just not productive. Right. And it's really good to be with like-minded people who want to put out comic books, who want to grow their brand, who want to grow their readership. And I know, like, if I'm having a bad day, I just get in there and say, hey, like, this is how I'm feeling. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm kind of having like this brain fog of where I need to go with promoting. And we just sit there and brainstorm it, because Crit, my title is just as important to them as theirs is to me.
That's how it should be, yeah.
And when we're at
I'm
cons,
happy that you're saying this though, because I feel like one of the issues with indie is that they're all kind of on their own by themselves. They should form a union or something where it makes it easier for indie guys to do stuff.
The thing is, people try,
mm-hmm.
but a lot of creators are afraid to let someone else help them. You're going to steal my idea. I had a call the other night with a guy who I used to work for, and he wants to get into comics. And he's like, well, I want to tell you my idea, but I don't know if I should. And I'm like, I have 5,000 things on my plate. The last thing on my agenda is to steal your idea, because I'm running with mine, and
Exactly.
And I'm not saying they don't have good ideas and that, hey, I wish I had thought of it, but it's like, you do that. I'm too busy, turning D&D into a comic book. I don't have time to, flesh out your idea. Like, I don't want to steal it. I want to see you succeed. I want to see every indie creator succeed, because the more indies that succeed, the better reputation we have. Part of the problem that indie has is there's a lot of people who do these big things and they get burned out, and then I don't want to use the term fail, but they fall flat and they don't come back, because like I said, it's hard. And that makes it harder for us when we want to go to retail, because when I first started this whole retail endeavor, stores were like, well, you guys don't get past 2 or 3 issues, and that creates a headache, or your release schedule is like once every 2 or 3 years, and there's all these things that they experience. And if we could just come together and say, like what we're doing right now, and support each other and not allow that burnout, and not have, it's friendly competition is one thing, but I remember a chat where someone was like, yeah, we see you as competition. And I'm like, how am I your competition?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys have superheroes, yes, but your superheroes are super. Mine are freaking idiots, like they're my friends. I'm not over here trying to write this story about these super powerful people. I'm writing my friends that I record our game sessions. There's nothing in comparison. Do your thing. Be successful.
I played enough D&D games. Our friends are not those heroes.
Right. Like, I just did a con the other day, or actually this past weekend, and someone was like, well, what would you like? How would you describe your game, like your book to me? What I'm like, imagine you and your friends sitting down, pretending to be superheroes for 6 hours a month, and all the stupidity that comes along with it. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, I can, that sounds like fun, but there shouldn't be any this arguing back and forth, or like trying to outdo each other. There should be, hey, support this book, because
unfortunately there's tribalism in indies too. So
yeah.
But I do wish there was a way where there's a thing about Jim Shooter had made a quote once when he talked about the indie scene and the Kickstarter scene. It's like, it's great, there's a lot of products out there, but it's like there's no like oversight, there's no, and so it's just like you just get a wave of quality, you get like stuff doesn't come out regularly, and that's all those issues. Those are problematic. Well, although most of the products are great, I think, but there's no, like, it's hard to work. There's no organization. There's no, like everything. It's like everything's all over the place.
That's why it's impressive what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But isn't it kind of fun to be in the Wild West too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. You get to do whatever you want, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, without being able to do whatever you want, there wouldn't be titles like that are wrapped around a D&D game that are, where everything in the comic is, decided by a roll of the dice, like Chris's book. I mean, that's insane. Yeah. You would never get that at the big two.
Right. And we're at a point where most of the indie stuff is good, and most of the non-indie stuff is not good. So it's
I mean, it's wild to me.
Yeah.
It's wild to me. What's wild to me is that when you go to a convention and people are like, "Oh, but it's not Carnage or Venom or
Oh, they love saying that.
Deadpool
Yeah.
or whatever." You know what I mean? And it's like, no, it's not Carnage, Venom, or Deadpool. It's not. That's not what we're doing here. Honestly, I'm not saying it's better, but it's different.
Mhm.
And that's what's cool about indie. You know, I mean, we're doing stuff that nobody sometimes in their right mind should even be doing, but we're doing it. And yeah, you're gonna get a quality, different quality of books, because anybody can do anything they want and put it up on Kickstarter. But I mean, that's for the discernible eye. Everybody has a different idea of what is good, what is bad, and I mean, and if you don't like it, don't back it. It's pretty simple, and I think that's what makes it great. But what we're doing with Homebrewed is, I mean, we've seen, in terms of everybody who's involved in Homebrewed has got a quality project, has shown that they can do what they need to do on Kickstarter. They've shown what they need to do, that they can connect with an audience. Everybody's doing what it is they need to do in order for the brand to be successful, though, the greater brand to be successful. And that's what's really nice, but don't take away from that Wild West mentality, because that's what kind of got us all here in the first place.
Oh yeah, it should stay with Wild West mentality. I just feel like what you need is to have people stop going, "You're my competition." I'm like, no
competition.
No. Well, what you guys are doing is great with Homebrew Comics and what Phil's doing. Just more unity and
exactly.
Yeah,
things are bit by bit. So I mean, Wild West is great, but there are a lot of Lone Rangers,
Oh, absolutely.
And some are good.
Lone Rangers.
Some are good, and some are, like you might need a Tonto or something. I need a little help. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Chris, tell us about Crit.
It's called Constantly Running into Trouble. And so if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you can kind of understand. It's just you're constantly going from one situation to the next. This is called He Who Would Be King. And if the title doesn't give it away, we introduce the first superhero in our universe, King Arthur. It tells the tale of his accomplishments as the first superhero, and you get to hear it from a perspective that you wouldn't expect. This story picks up right after the last issue, where they've uncovered some things. I won't give it all away because, read the book. But they
read the book.
This one could be a standalone. It does pick all of my books, so I write every single issue of Crit as if it were a Saturday morning cartoon. There's a previously on section right in the front of the book giving you an idea of what just happened, where they're at. So, okay, I have a little bit of an idea of what I'm walking into. The front of the book also has a description of all the characters, so the names and the faces and those things. So if you're walking in blind, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. Here we have them doing some interrogations and figuring out some of the larger story at play. And you hear, like I said, the origin of King Arthur, which our King Arthur, I got to say, he's pretty beastie. And if you notice, he's got some sci-fi appeal to him. And there's a pretty interesting story behind our King Arthur. What I love about this is I have been for 5 years refraining from telling people that Crit is an Arthurian superhero story, because no one would believe me until now. So from now on, I get to tell people it's an Arthurian superhero story, as it has been since 2019 when we started playing this game. King Arthur is the original. He is arguably a pretty BA character. But you see some of his rise and fall and some of the interesting story that we've created for him. The thing I love about this campaign is that this celebrates 5 years of Crit. So you're not just able to get, issue 8 and the rest of my issues, but we remastered issue 1. So it's recolored and redone, relettered for 2025. I had toyed with the idea of redrawing it. A lot of people don't know this, but I actually taught myself how to draw in order to do this comic book. I love my D&D campaign that much that I was like, I'm going to draw this. And I went through, I went through a lot of trial and error, and I got beat up quite a bit, but here I am, very proud of the work that I put in. And you can see, where we were at in 2020, now 2025. I had toyed with the idea of redrawing it, but a lot of people said what they like about Crit is they get to see the growth of the art, because that is kind of like One Punch Man, how it started off kind of, it wasn't bad, but it got much better as it went along.
Definitely.
And so,
and you always like to see that with projects. Is it get better as it goes along?
Yeah, I actually went back recently and looked at some of my favorite artists from like 20 years, like now versus 20 years ago, and I'm like, oh wow, like they even got better. Yeah. And so, and I also remastered the end of issue 5 because I just wasn't really happy with some of the artwork in that, and we completely redid the end of issue 5. Same story, just new art with Robert Nix, one of my favorite indie artists right now, is working with me on that. And so, this Kickstarter, you can pick up everything Crit from issue 1 to issue 8. Issue 0, if you look, it is a free download right on the website, so there is no risk to check us out. It's an 18-page first campaign. It's called Character Sheets, and if you've ever played D&D, you know that when your characters get together and or your players get into the first session, by the end of the session, they've changed their mind on everything they want to do. Oh, and that's portrayed in like their suits. They start off with these really generic, boring suits, and then at the end they get their refresh. And there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor around that.
I like how you did that, because that is exactly a very valid explanation of what happens.
Every campaign I've ever played, you sit down and everyone's like, I want to play this. And you get through the first session and they're like, I kind of want to change this. Oh, yeah. And I put that on paper. People ask me, what is this like? And this might age me, but it's like Police Academy with superpowers.
Good explanation.
The other guys, a little bit of My Hero Academia. There's some anime influence in there, but it's about a group of friends learning to be superheroes in a world where King Arthur was the first one, and here they are picking up, hundreds, 1,000 years later, with these powers that they don't really understand. So not everything goes right. Most of the time it goes wrong, but at the end it's always hilarious. So you get the benefits of all of it. The fun thing to me is that this is at the core a story of friends. Every book really shines with their friendship and their relationships. Everything you read happened at our table. So the personalities in the book, they're unique. Each character has a very unique way of talking, their personality. Even our cat, talking cat that smokes cigars and drinks rum. He only speaks in rhyme because it annoys you. And he even says, I don't have to, but I do. We have an owl that he's a pompous Brit and hates most of the things that they have an idea about. And then we've got the chameleon who's just real chill and wants to be everybody's friend. So they have their little familiars. Yep, there's the kitty cat. Can't have a cat without a bow tie and a top hat these days, right?
I gotta say though, you took the cat and you ran with it, because you could have just went with whatever is normal. But I love the skull face on it.
His name is Samedi, and he spells it differently because he's not the god Samedi.
Love it.
But cats love to screw with you, so everything he does is screwing with you. And the fun part about it is this guy in the center with the glowing eyes. That's his. He is that guy's familiar, Spectre. And in real life, Austin, who is Spectre, is allergic to cats. So when he had this idea for a familiar, I had to balance him because he wanted this all-powerful, like godly being as a familiar. And I'm like, well, he's a cat and you're allergic to him. So if he's out for more than 4 hours, you take negatives. There's a book, issue 4. I love this story. We're playing, and Austin absolutely forgot to even use Samedi the entire game. And at the end, I'm like, you didn't even call Samedi once during this whole fight. And he's like, oh man, can we just say that he was like really drunk and couldn't make it? And so there's a panel where he calls him and he just passed out on the ground next to a bottle, just drunk.
That's cool. I like that.
So, but it's insinuated. There's no like saying he's drunk. It's just there. So if a kid reads it, they just see a cat pass out next to a bottle. If you've informed your kids what drinking is, then that's your prerogative. I don't spill the beans for your children. But my kid reads this. She loves it. She laughs about a lot of the things. This might be my favorite part of issue 7, where our vacuum cleaner robot, Dr. Rumbato, shows up. And if you know cats and vacuums, they don't get along very well. So Smitty he's out. He disappears. He teleports to Spectre and has a whole angry monologue about vacuum cleaners.
The last cat I had, like Willow, like she just hated the vacuum cleaner so much. It was so funny when the vacuum cleaner was off. She'd go up to it, she'd go and then smack it and then run away. It's like, yo, it's off, like, but it's so cute. Just hated the thing.
When we introduced the robot, Reach, the guy on the back left with the trench coat, he's the tech guy, and he says, I want to build this support drone. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll roll to do this. And he rolls terribly. So I was like, well, you have a Roomba with a robot body. And when I was drawing the book and he's introduced, I just thought it was hilarious to have the cat, interact with a vacuum. I'm like, what would happen if a vacuum comes strolling into the coffee shop? Well, cat's going to go. He's going to disappear.
I'm out of here.
So, lots of action too. So it is an action adventure story. Every book is, full of its own little, action pieces, and heads get ripped off from robots. But like I said, you don't have to start with any specific issue. I write it so it's very accessible no matter where you pick up. I would, of course, say pick up issue 1 and go from there because it's a full story. But at the same time, if you just want to come in at issue 7, see if you like what's there, and then catch up on it, just like we do with Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid before DVR, go right ahead.
And that's what we used to do with comic books. We just whatever issue was out is the first issue we got. That's why people I've never understood this whole we need another issue number 1 so people can understand what's going on. I'm like, no, we don't.
So I've been toying with that because we I'm at issue 9 and there's not a lot of indie comics that get this far.
Yeah, no.
And Drew and I talked last night and he's like, would you ever think about redoing, like doing issue 6 instead of it having issue 6 because it starts a new chapter, just doing it as issue 1 of chapter 2, because that might get more people interested because it's an issue 1. And as much as I think that's an idea, like, and might work to
some people like that, yeah.
I want to have 42 issues. So if I do chapter 2, issue 1, I'm still going to have the legacy number on there,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something that I've slept on a little bit.
Really looked at, like, because like modern comics, it's like it'll be like after 4 issues, you'll start with a new number 1, 6 issues number 1. There's a running joke that like we're gonna get to a point where like every single month everything's issue number 1 every single month.
I don't know if I like that gimmick. I can't decide on it, and I'm really torn because I have 42 issues of this book written, and if you know the number 42 and all the
number 42, yep.
Okay, so when we were playing, I had it in my head. I'm like, we're gonna play 42 games.
I like that,
and we did. And so, I'm kind of sold on that, and I think it speaks volumes that I'm gonna get there. Whether I'm 55 when I do it or not.
My personal opinion is that if you're doing a number 1, because I guess this is the way the market is, people are doing number 1s. At least maybe you have a new creative team, or at least you're taking the story in a different direction. If you have a team, maybe it's a completely new team. Something like that. Because a lot of times we're getting number 1s and like, this is really issue 8. This is not, you know what I'm saying? So if you're taking the story in a completely different direction or something like that, and it justifies an issue 1, and I think that's fine.
I'm not going to justify a new issue 1. It's just a new chapter.
Right.
I want to do the trade paperback.
The new chapter was good. That's what I mean. It's a new direction. Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
They got a coffee shop in chapter 2, but it's still the same story. It's it's just so I really don't know if I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to stick with my numbering the way I like it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's what I
like
want.
it, especially if you stick with it, because, like you said, not many indie guys will do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly restarting as well.
We have a couple offshoots that'll eventually come out, and I think the biggest, the first real side story that we're going to do with Crit is coming out this year with the rest of the guys. We're doing Homebrewed Zero.
I like that.
So you've put the links in the chat here, and
Mm-hmm.
Dan, our marketing guy, had this genius idea to rip off Image Comics from the 90s, but do it in a way that was done right. Instead of having Shaft and Spawn on the cover and having Troll on the inside, we're going to have a correct cover done with the correct characters, and everyone that backs Crit in a physical, Bigfoot in a physical, and then in June we have Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter, our crossover event.
Nice.
If you back all three campaigns, when the books ship in October, you will get your coupons, as Dan has right there.
I'll show them off more. There you go. Keep talking.
All three books will have their own individual coupon. You'll go to the website. Where those X's are will be numbers. You can type those numbers in on the website, and you will get access to Homebrewed Zero. You fill out the form, and within, I think we said 90 to 120 days, we got to get the book printed and all that stuff, all the orders done. You will get a copy of Homebrewed Zero. It is 100% all original content with a foil cover done by the guy who colors my books and does covers for both Dan and I.
That's some incentive, man.
30 pages. All four Homebrewed creators and one of our cover artists, Mo Lubison, will be contributing as well. Mine is Caffeinated Critters. It's all the animals you just saw, a day in the life of them in a coffee shop. So let's just hope PETA doesn't show up and shut them down. So that's something we're working on. And it's all original content. It's not anything you'll find in the books. That foil cover is exclusive just for the backers of these books.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
That foil cover will never be released to the public. It is only going to be for this event. So if you're listening now, check out all the campaigns. You can go to homebrewedcomics.com. That's the easiest way to do it. I have Drew. I will say Drew did a great job of making sure all of our links are up right on the front page. Check out all three campaigns. One thing I do pride Homebrewed on is, you're not going to pay $25 for an 18-page book. We're not like that. Everything's very accessible in price, so you won't break the bank, and you'll get quality books. One thing I love about indie in itself is when you read an indie book, you're getting the passion behind the project. And I just had a weekend of promoting Bigfoot at a con, and my girlfriend was with me, and she was like, "You promote Dan's book just like it's your own." And I'm like, "Well, it kind of is, like I publish it." It was kind of cool. This is the first con I've ever gone to, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I publish these books." And I got to talk about, Celestial Knight as a homebrewed title. I got to talk about Bigfoot as a homebrewed title. Not, oh, my friend puts this book out. It's like, oh no, we do this.
Us homebrewed. I gotta say, I love your logo.
Thank you. So the mock-up design, I got to give my dad some credit. He gave me a lot of crap at Thanksgiving last year. And he's like, your logo is kind of outdated. You need to rebrand. And I'm like, well, I think I'm going to go with Homebrewed Comics. My dad's an amazing artist. So he sat there at Thanksgiving with my tablet, and we just started drawing out a new logo. And then I sent it to a vector artist of mine, and here we go. Now we have this beautiful logo, and it'll be a little while till we can get any updates. But hey, I love it.
It stands out. It does its job.
Well, that makes me happy, because having a good logo is important. You want that, like the Nike symbol and UPS and things. And I really enjoy the color scheme. It's not boring. It's really and it blends well with our colors. So when we were putting on the covers, I was like, man, that looks cool. I was proud of it.
Dude, I love what you guys are doing. This is a lot of beautiful work. It should be a model of what other indie guys should be doing out there.
Dan touched base on this a little bit, but when I had thought about bringing Dan in, there's two things that stuck in my head about me and Dan. First one was the dual launch. I don't think anybody else that I knew at the time had done a dual launch. And it wasn't like this was planned in advance. I had been doing my calendar. I had, I was looking at all my dates. And I want to say it was March, something like that. And I picked the date that I was going to launch crit number 5. And I said, okay, this works with my calendar. I work in taxes. So there's a lot of the first quarter of the year is really hard for me because it's,
you're busy.
Tax season.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool. I'll launch right now. Well, as the day I'm going to post my date, Dan posts his. And mind you, he gets up much earlier than me. So I wake up, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to start promoting my Kickstarter. It's going to be great. And I start going through the feed and I start looking before I make my post. And here's Dan with the same date. And I'm like, oh, crap. And I just messaged him and I said, hey, I see you're launching. And this is really like the date that works best for me. Would you mind if I, launch at the same time? I don't want to be seen as competition. I'm not trying to fight with you on it. But like, that's the date that really works for me because I have vacations and all this other stuff.
Right.
And of course he was like, no, that's fine. And then I think we talked for like 5 or 10 minutes and I was like, well, we could do a dual launch, like a live, because we do have some similar backers, but at the same time, there's not a whole ton of overlap either.
Right.
And
your books are different.
Right. And there's no competition. It's not like Superhero D&D 1 and Superhero D&D 2. Which one am I going to choose?
Exactly.
It's Bigfoot and a bunch of idiots, like so
that's
we
the name
did
of
it.
The band.
What?
That's going to be the name of the band.
Bigfoot and a bunch of idiots. I love it.
I love that. Yeah, you guys should do that. Here's Bigfoot and a bunch of idiots.
I love my friends. I hope they watch this and hear me call them idiots because but
no, your friends. Sorry, I'm calling y'all idiots. Go ahead.
Yeah. They'll be fine. They know they've read the book. So
it perfectly explains all the people out there looking for Bigfoot. It's like Bigfoot and a bunch of
oh my God, it's so perfect. You're right. Oh, that was great.
Well played, man. Well played.
That was great. But I think we funded in 15, 20 minutes. We funded both books.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And like at the time, I and if somebody else had done it, I just hadn't seen it. And when we walked away from that, it was a great feeling of camaraderie. And so, and then we did Baltimore Comic-Con together and we tabled next to each other. It was people coming my way first. I'm like, I do my spiel and then I hand them right off to Dan. They come through Dan's side. He hands them right off to me.
Teamwork.
And I was like, we work so well together and there's no animosity. I'd see him selling books and the same person wouldn't buy mine. And I'm over here. I wasn't pouting, and the same thing would happen to him. He'd see people come over and play with my D&D dice. And then he'd pitch them something and they'd do the whole, okay, that's cool. And walk away. What you get at tables. And there wasn't this moment of like, well, F you, they should have bought my book, not yours. There wasn't that at all. We'd talk all through the day. We'd take pictures and have a blast.
Beautiful.
I would wait. I'm waiting for the day that somebody does that, where you're standing next to them, you're selling, they don't buy, somebody doesn't buy their book, they buy yours. And the guy next to you goes, F you, I really want to see that happen. Not really, but wouldn't it be hilarious if not you and me, Chris, we're cool, but you know what I mean? But I want to see that because there's just a difference in creators at conventions. You've got the ones who stand up and are like power action ready to go. And then you got the ones who are just sitting there not doing anything and they're drawing, which is no crime in drawing at a convention, but you gotta interact a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're on their phone or something like that. Yeah. So, no, but there's got to be some animosity because I know Chris, I know me, I know, Dennis, like all of us, we're stand up and sell. We're talking to people moving and shaking. That's what it takes to sell at a convention. Because remember, nobody went there looking for you. You know what I mean? Like they went there to go get the big name signatures or, go pick up, what are those, the big headed little toys, Funko Pops. That's what they came there for. So, it's our job to make them realize this is what you're looking for. This is what you need. Don't go home sad. You pick up these comics. You know what I mean? At the homebrew books, we got what you need.
All right, so
And-
let's go to the videotape and show off
Oh,
both your
geez.
videos.
Let's go to
All
the
videos.
videotape. I like that. That sounds like we're going to sports. Let's do it.
That was hardcore. I was like, damn. It was like you went, ah.
But then after you watch all that, you just get hit with the head. Oh, by the way, Bigfoot knows karate. What?
Hell yeah, dude. I give big props to Greg Saxon for making my trailer. He's the best.
Dude, yeah, that trailer was epic. Yeah, look. Epic trailer.
Right on, Lou. Thank you, Lou. Greg always puts together something great. See, proud to send people to dance. When I loved going to conventions with you, Lou. I miss that. We always had a great time working conventions together.
Oh my god. So now let's check out the Crit trailer.
Yeah, let's do that. That's dope.
Let's go to the videotape, folks. Here we go. That was superhero.
Those were nice effects, man. That's
yeah,
cool.
Man. I love the fact that
the video this night. Yeah. The guy who did the animation of the cat, he gave me some animations of my characters to add into it. So I'm going to be updating the video and posting the video for everybody.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we've been working on an animated intro for a while, and so we'll have that. We revisited the animation, and it's going to be for issue 9 because he's also going to draw issue 9 for me.
Nice.
So I retooled the animation to kind of go with that book, so that way it flows really well. But he gave me some stuff to add for this one, which I'm stoked to put up there.
I gotta say, I love this. I love the fact that you're doing this. I love the cross promotion too, where if you support all 3 books, you know you're gonna get what you're gonna get, and this just gives people out there a big reason why they should support all 3 books. And I'm gonna give you guys even some more kismet here because I had Dan on the show, and then Chris hit me up and goes, "Hey, can I have you on the show?" And what usually happens is they have a bunch of people to for whatever day it is, but everybody else had dropped out. So then Chris and Dan ended up on the same show. Bam!
We've only been doing this together for so long, like.
Yeah.
That's what you call kismet, folks.
Yeah.
So if you guys are thinking out there, hey, I need a reason to support them, there you go.
Yeah.
The universe said we need to be on the same show. That's what it was.
Exactly.
Absolutely. The universe said, since we're here together doing this show, y'all need to go out and check out these Kickstarters for real. Go to homebrewcomics.com. There's links to all 3 of the campaigns. Go hit the notify button on Caspian Porter vs. Celestial Knight. Go check out Chris' campaign. Go check out my campaign. Sorry, I had to do the cheap plug right there.
Oh, no, you have to, because I was about to say, let me get the 3rd link so I can put it into the chat so that they don't have to go look for it.
There you go.
Because I got a guy who always goes, Ralph, you didn't put the link
have it. I
into
can
the chat, so I'm not going to go look for it.
Yeah, I'll post it in here.
Okay, awesome. No, yeah, no, you got the shameless plug. You got to.
You
Speaking
got
of the shameless plug, you also need to go check out George Medina's book, The Shameless Plug. That just is hitting.
Oh my God. We and him have been talking about coming on the show, and I've been doing all these shameless puns because it's just perfect. And I'm a dad, so all the dad jokes just write themselves for it. And every time I see it, I share it, and I'm like, this is just a shameless plug.
Yeah, but what a great idea. I mean, seriously, what a great name for a book, The Shameless
Yeah,
Plug.
seriously.
And then on top of it, it looks fantastic. So
yeah. Oh yeah, no, this is a monster of an idea here. This is better than the character I had back in the Latex Avenger days named the Human Sport. You know what I mean? So this is like the Shameless Plug is beautiful. I love it.
I ran into him at CradleCon this weekend. And he was like, Ralph, I got to come on the show. I was like, dude, I've told you to come on the show like 10 times. Get over here. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, he's great. George is
fantastic.
He's so cool.
Yeah. He's one of the best people in comics.
Yeah.
Talk about somebody who goes all out for everybody, especially in the indie scene. Yeah.
He's another one, that it's not about him, it's about everybody.
Exactly. Or has not launched yet. He's going to launch soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's coming on the show to talk about it too.
Yeah.
So, folks, look at this. This is a lot of beautiful stuff here. There's a lot of love happening here. That's why you should be all going, I'm going to support these guys because I want to be in on that love.
Dude, just like seriously, just think about it like this. Barry White playing in the background. You got you got a nice Cabernet between the two of you. The music's on the hi-fi. You're snuggling up on the couch. What better way to make it happen than in Crit number 8, Bigfoot Knows Karate Chapter 3, Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter, one shot. These are what set the mood, y'all. So think about it.
Yeah. And you will have to imagine Barry White, because if we actually played it, we would get demonetized.
Yeah, you just gotta pretend the Barry White's happening.
Folks, this is Barry White talking to you, and the love that's happening here. That's why you should support Chris.
What are you doing, Ralph? The algorithm is stupid, man.
You gotta do the voice, man.
You gotta do the voice.
I think it was better than I am. That's sure. I think it was like 2 episodes ago where we played someone's original song, and I said, "Yo, man, Facebook is gonna flag this." And wow, like right after, Facebook flagged it. It's the original song, but it's just it's so stupid.
Oh man. Also, guys, you start, Dan. Tell them one more time where they can find you on Instagram and all the other socials.
Sure.
And I'll stick your Kickstarter back up for a sec so you can do all the beautiful things and go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So, my name is Dan Price. I'm part of Homebrewed Comics. You can find me over at homebrewedcomics.com, which has an easy link over to my Kickstarter, or just go to Kickstarter and search Bigfoot Knows Karate. I'm the only one. So, look for it over there. Easy to find. Or if you want to just do a deep dive into Bigfoot Knows Karate, go to bigfootknowskarate.com. There's a link to the front of the Kickstarter there. You can also buy t-shirts and all sorts of crap. And it also has a link to my Instagram, which is home base. So if you want to learn more about Bigfoot Knows Karate, please go to Kickstarter.com, not Kickstarter.com, screw that. Go to Instagram.com/DanoMite139 and you will find me there. But please, homebrewedcomics.com. It's where we got all the good stuff happening. Sign up for the newsletter. You'll be able to find out all about the different campaigns we got going on. And then just real quick, if you're in the Texas area, on the end of the month, I will be at Dallas Fan Expo. So come by and say hi. That's it. That's what I got.
There you go. I was going to say, you should tell them where to find you for which convention. Because then on June 14th, you'll find me at Big Alpaca Comics in San Antonio doing a signing over there. And then July something, you'll find me at Greater Austin Comic Con. So go check all those out. Folks, you heard him. Go check it out.
Go check it out.
Check it out now.
Exactly.
All right. It's time to get the crit in.
So, same thing. Chris from Homebrewed Comics. You can go to homebrewedcomics.com. Find me there. I am on Instagram at Homebrewed Comics. That's my main handle. We have 10 days left on Crit. Go check it out. Like I said, issue 0 is a free download on the website. You can also download Caspian Porter number 02. If you want to check out both titles, Caspian Porter hits in June. My title is now live for the next 10 days. We are unlocking stretch goals and all that fun stuff. Big thing about all of this, we didn't cover this, but I do have rock glasses, which are really whiskey glasses. And there's a set of 5 you can check out.
Yeah, I saw that when I was going down the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes. We have metal covers. We have standard covers. We have foil covers. We have everything that you would like as a collector or a reader. Every physical copy comes with a digital copy as well. So make sure you go to homebrewedcomics.com, check everything out, and get in on the crit.
Don't forget Homebrewed Zero.
Yep. Also, if you're just a Kickstarter person, don't want to go to the website, if you type in crit, I'm the first one that pops up.
Ooh. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's nice with Kickstarter to consistently put me right up front. So I like that. Even if there's like a bunch of D&D stuff going on, I always do somehow get put above that. So I think that's cool. That's nice of them.
That's actually amazing.
Yep. They don't give me the projects we love, but I get that. I will be at Heroes Con June 20th through the 22nd. And I just got put on Joe Lanta, which is a interesting action figure show in September.
Ooh.
And I had a blast at a Toy Con. And so I think I'm going to be hanging out at Toy Cons. I'll be broke, but I'm going to go to them.
It actually makes sense. You at a Toy Con, I can see it.
So I do have some figures that I've made, some statues, and I have Samedi as a stuffed animal. And so actually, like, I'm almost out now because of that con, because people were just walking by, seeing the cat, and then going, I want that. And
I gotta say, I'm looking at the cat going, I want that.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a cat in a top hat with a skull mask on and a bow tie? You know,
mine's over there somewhere.
Now I just need custom rum to sell with him. But
now that I said that, I want a Kung Fu Bigfoot.
Oh man, that's part of the plan. I really, Chris gave me the name of his plush company, and I've done some inquiries on that. I really would like to see a Bigfoot plush. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I can see him in the karate outfit. Oh
yeah, with little thing you squeeze his hand and it says "hug me." No, but I'll chop your head off. Something, I don't know. It'll say something good. So.
We've got to get Karate Chop action figures for you that have the
dude.
Karate Chop action.
Yep.
Yeah, Bigfoot with the Kung Fu grip. That'd be the jam right there. That'd be jam. The G.I. Joe fans alone will go nuts.
And at Heroes Con, Dennis from Celestial Knight will be there as well. So they'll be set up doing that. And Dan, are you going to Heroes Con? I keep forgetting. I think you. No.
I'm going to be in Ireland for work. That's the week I'm in Ireland.
Never mind.
Yeah.
For some reason, I had it in my head you were going to be there, but it will be me and Dennis and our good friend Jerry from E4 Comics as well. So we'll be set up by the bathroom at Heroes Con, which is arguably the best place to be because everyone needs food and everyone needs a bathroom. Food is on this side, bathrooms on that side, and we get a lot of traffic. So it'll be a lot of fun.
I went to Heroes Con 2 years ago. Yeah, it's a great con.
That's awesome.
Yes.
They talk about a con that's really just about comics, And,
it is.
That's really cool. And they had some comic strips up too, which is pretty interesting. So that was really cool.
It's
actually Comic Con. Go to Heroes Con.
Space is huge too. A lot of
it's huge.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Actually, so I saw Jim Shooter there last year, and he was also at South Carolina Comic Con. And at South Carolina, we were talking for a little bit, and then North Carolina was a couple months later. And I just walked up to him with my book, and I had nothing from him to sign, so I wanted to sign one of my books. And he's like, "This is yours," and I'm like, "Yeah." So he starts flipping through it, and he gave me some feedback on my book, and then he signs it. And he was a really cool guy. His assistant came over, tried to get $20 from me, and he's like, "No, this is friends and family. I know this guy." That may have been like the coolest moment of that con. So
that is so cool.
Yeah,
I like Jim Shooter. I mean, such a divisive character, but I mean, just
really great guy. Every time I've seen him, I've talked to him, and he's just been real down to earth and chill.
With fans, he thinks he's great. So yeah. Well, we can do a whole show talking about Jim Shooter.
Oh man. Folks, I hope you've liked the show. It has been a blast to bring you Chris and Dan. I think the next time we're going to bring all three of you together. When does your Kickstarters end? When?
Mine ends the 30th. Yep.
Yeah,
that's right. Yours is ending pretty quickly.
Yeah, mine ends on the
and yours ends the 13th of June.
13th of June.
Well, you did 30 days. You did 30 2 days?
No, I did. I ended up just doing 30 and just putting stuff on late pledges so they can still back it at that signing. But
a lot of people doing now, doing the late pledges.
Yeah, I've never tried it before. Let's give that a shot. See how it goes.
Exactly.
You know,
gotta try everything.
And
then
do
it to Indiegogo.
Yeah, and then Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter launches on June 21st. So, you know, and if you don't back our books, back our campaigns, there will be a catch-up campaign for the Homebrewed Zero, or a catch-up tier on the Homebrewed Zero, both on mine if you don't make it to Chris's campaign, or then if you don't make it to either of ours, you can catch up over on Drew and Dennis's campaign. So don't miss it. Homebrewed Zero.
Nice, you guys.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, because you know, you don't usually see that. That's something you don't usually see right there. It is, hey, you can catch up on the other campaign.
Yeah. Hey, you know, we have the means to do it. You know, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like it's a possibility. So
it doesn't matter because you guys have various issues already, and most you guys have the option to buy whichever issue you want. Does it matter which issue they buy from each of you?
Yes. They do need to buy the books on the campaign that are current right now.
Like the physical, yes.
All right, so the latest book.
Right.
Correct.
Because if they buy one and one and one, you know, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, no, they can get it. They can get a homebrewed catch-up pack, but you know, you need to pick up the zero, or not the zero. You need to pick up the according books.
The latest one.
Yeah.
Makes
exactly.
sense. All right.
Yep.
It's good to get that out there because people they're gonna have the same question.
Sure.
Yep.
There you have it, folks. You know what to do. Go get the latest and get that issue 0 because you know what we love here in comics is getting that special thing.
Oh yeah.
Everybody likes free comics. We have 2 of them on our website, so go check them out.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. We'll bring all 3 of them back for when the next Kickstarter gets off, and then you guys, all 3 of you, can hang out.
Sounds great.
You said the 21st is when the other one kicks off?
Yeah, when Drew and Dennis's campaign, Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter, the one shot. Yeah, that'll kick off June 21st.
All right, so I'll plan it out with you guys, and we'll do like a special show, just all of you guys.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
If anybody's listening right now, the Celestial Knight versus Caspian Porter is essentially an Amazon delivery gone wrong.
Yes.
I
love it.
It's a good way to put it.
I found it and I put it in the comment section. So now you got all 3 folks, so you got no excuses. So you know what we say here. One of the best ways to help creators is to sign up to get notified. Because as many followers as they have when they start the project, it puts them in a better place in the algorithm. So right now you can go help out and sign up to get notified.
Yes,
so go do that.
Absolutely, please.
Even if you can't back, you want to share it.
Yeah,
that would be great too. Thank you.
All that stuff helps, folks. Caring is sharing, or sharing is caring.
There it is.
You know what I'm saying. All right, folks. On this show, when all is said and done, this happens.